This meeting is being live streamed, guys. Please give us your consent that you consent to being live streamed on YouTube. Cool. Thumbs up from everybody. Can I get a thumbs up that everyone is here via consent? Okay, sharp. Evening. Hi. Welcome to it. It's a Monday night football recap of what's been happening as far as local football is concerned. The name is Kamumbata, and as always, I am joined by a panel made up of some a little bit in denial as to whether they're retired or not. You can guess which one of the three is that. But yeah, all these men have been exposed to football at the highest level locally. So let me welcome to you, Kelvin Sosibo. I've got Eddie Tinya and I've got Gregor Tapia joining me. Gents, welcome, man. It's good to reconvene with you here on a Monday.
Good morning, Kamza, and my comrades.
Which part of the world are you in, Eddie? You said good morning. Are you even in Africa right now?
Oh, did I? No, I think.
Are you closing a deal somewhere?
Everything on Soso. Good evening, Kamza, and good evening to the viewers.
Good evening, Eddie. Welcome. Kelvin, what, you're busy giggling there. You're not saying hi. People are expecting you to say hi. Cool. Gents, big weekend. Greg, let's start with you, man. The big result, of course, we saw the big match. That was Orlando Pirates and Sundowns. That was a bit of, I want to build up to that one. So let's start with the drab draw. Even though there was a lot of action, and your fellow countryman in Daniel Lekpe was one of the stars in this one that saw Kaizer Chiefs in action against Marumo Gallants. So, your take on what you saw from Chiefs. The coach seems to think that it's all coming together. He's seeing it happen in front of his eyes. What's your take?
Yeah, good evening, Kabza. Good evening to our viewers and listeners. I just feel like, where they are coming from and what they got on the day, I think they will be happy, because I think his first priority is to stabilize that defense, which have been, for the past 4 games they have been conceding. So I think, he just wanted to build from the back, with his old guys there. So, but with Daniel coming in, and you can see everything, when teams have a lot of chances in your box, there's something wrong, it's either the defenders are not marking properly, or the system is not really working. But at the end of the day, thanks to the goalkeeper, on that day, Daniel Akpeyi, that a full of some incredible save, that's top class save, save that he did on that day, So, but the only surprise for me, and there's a positive and negative in terms of how I saw that game, is Jabilo Blom going to the midfield. He had some energy in the midfield in terms of mobility. I think, we spoke about that last week in terms of the mobility, in terms of the agility in the midfield. Jabilo Blom provide that for you, and he gives them some energy in that midfield, which Chiefs were lacking in some of their games, So, and the good thing against Kostler was in his right position, which is the right back, But with them playing first 9, I don't think it's gonna work, because you have Kama is gonna be rotating all over the whole show, and you have Dolly there. But at the end of the day, the coach really wants to play in that system, and getting the draw, he thinks he has got something, to build on from there. But, on that game, a lot of negative in terms of turning over of the ball. Their passing, passing in terms of their passing rate wasn't good. A lot of turnovers, which could have resulted to a lot of goals, on that day. But what we saw with them in the past 2-3 games, and what they provide in terms of the clean sheet, that's the only positive that came out of that game. Okay,
Calvin, let's look at that back line now. We've got Daniel Lekpe. I don't know if he can have any better audition than what he did at the weekend to be the Chiefs' number 1. And then you have both the central defenders having opportunities to put their side in the lead. Granted, that's not a defender's job, but from set pieces, you maybe back Matoho and Daniel Cardozo to do something in there. Does that mean that the jury is still out? That even when they are getting chosen ahead of the likes of Ngobo, that still they don't take opportunities that can literally secure the team, 3 points? They can argue, yes, we got the clean sheet on the day, whatever, but both of them had a chance to walk away with a victory for their side.
Yeah, true. There's no better performance that Daniel Agbe has put against the match that we saw last week. I think he was a standout. He was actually the man of the match for me, for my opinion. The way he played, the way he committed himself, the way he marshaled the defense, the way he was hands-on on everything, trying to help also with defenders, trying to stay compact, trying to build up from the back. Even if there is danger, he tries to clear and push the guys up. So I think it was a great performance. And that number one, surely now he has cemented it while in the absence of Kune. Bavuma is still coming up a little bit, trying to get confidence. But at this point, Akbe is the one that can give stability to Kaizer Chiefs and is the one that is going to marshal now. They need to start having confidence on him so then the team can really rebuild on the goalkeeper, the number one goalkeeper, to stabilize the back line. Because now if you keep on having a change in defense, it affects your whole back line, because one day you have Bavuma, the next day you have Akbe, you also have Ngobo, you have Cardoso, you have a Mato that is consistent on the lineup. Try and get somebody now to pair those two. At least you have a solid backline, then we know we can move forward. So within those defenders being thrown into the deep end, I think one that has maybe given me 65%, which is Mato. Cardoso, I'm still not convinced. I think we still need to give Ngobo a chance. I think he's a better organizer. He's a better ball player. We saw with the Cardoso in the way how he played. Every ball that will come in times where Chiefs is supposed to settle down and try to invite pressure onto them so they can find spaces for the Billiards to run into the spaces. But they failed to actually to do that, because Cardoso, every ball that will get to try and play it forward as quick as possible. The quicker you play it up, the quicker it comes back. So it made it difficult for Chiefs to really adjust in a way how they play. So for me, I think on that sense, it made it a little bit difficult for them in trying to play with that false nine, because a false nine requires you to drop through to the half spaces, and with Nogovic being absent and playing on the side, it made it far worse. That's why Billiard was dropping too deep to face the ball in order for them to go up front.
Okay, that's the assessment of how Kaizer Chiefs approached the game. Coach Minier on the other side, Eddie Dinya, how do you think he'll have looked at that one? Because you know how it is. These kind of games, you don't really have to motivate your players. Everyone's going to play to their best level. But what do you think he would have taken out of that? Because he seems to think there's more to this Marumo Gallen side than what's been shown to him. And another coach who maybe believes that, you know, they're only a performance or two away from hitting their straps.
Yeah, I think, I mean, if you look at, you know, their game against Kaizer Chiefs, I think, as you said, Kamza, that, you know, when you're playing a big club like Kaizer Chiefs, it's a motivation on its own. And I think it also played a part with the players, because they got their first chance, I think, in the first half, in the first 13th minute. I think that was a great save from Akpe. So from there, I think it was a message to Kaizer Chiefs that, listen, we might be a small team, the so-called small team, but we are here to collect a maximum points. So I think with the way that they played, it shows that they really want to win the game. And then also the chances that they created, it was, you know, if they had put that at the back of the net, and then we could be talking a different story. But so I think from building from that game to their next game, I think now they have got enough confidence that coming into the next game, they might be able to step a little bit higher from the performance that they did against Kaizer Chiefs. So I think the coach was very happy, even though that they could not convert the chances that they created. But overall, with the performance of the players, I think he was very happy.
No, for sure. A whole Nigerian international standing in the way of any chances that Gallants had on the evening. And let's also have a look at what you guys are saying. Sandy Lukowane says Kaizer Chiefs is fighting relegation, similar to what it was doing for the better part of last season. I feel sorry for the supporters. And Sipose Tuliman is saying Baxter must go. We lost CAF Champions League final, out in MTN8, league in relegation position, players playing out of natural positions, youngsters not playing, old players still playing. I mean, he raises some good points there. You know, I can't imagine the man is telling a lie, Kelvin. What do you make of that? Lots of boxes and ticking happening.
I think it's spot on that. I think the more the coach really needs to sit down and really analyze the team. We can't spare him. We can't give him more time and say that he doesn't know the team. He went with them to the CAF Champions final. He came back. He should have actually had a better squad, and knowing that the integration of the younger players and the older players. How do you phase the older players out? The squad hasn't gone a lot of refreshment at this point, which is it's duly needed it. Position that were there, that were beefed up and players signed for them. I think they underutilize at this point. So if they could utilize that and try and engage the players that they've signed for the energy sake and also on the balance, because on positions that they were challenged on is the position they went looking, they got the players. But do they really got the right players on those positions? We saw on the weekend Shanti getting a red card.
Yeah.
That's another downfall on them. So that means now changes the shape and the structure of the defensive line, because now the incoming Mabaliso needs to raise his hand up. I still prefer seeing Mashiane playing left back, because I think he's a quality player, advancing himself going forward. Playing as a forward player has no time, cannot create space, but coming from the back is good on the 1-2s. He always initiate and create move. I think one of the games that he's been playing, he shows a lot of promise in willing the team to go forward. And again, within the same question that there's still old players that are playing. I think now the time is up for the likes of Parker. I think now they need to find a suitable position to replace him, and also bring back the number 9. Chiefs.
But when, Kelvin? When are they going to do that, though? Kelvin, you're saying there was bringing in someone to replace him. Are you talking about the end of the season? Or are you saying that in January they must look for other faces? Because from what it looks like, it doesn't seem that's an urgent thing. I think they might try and make do with what they have. So when exactly are those timelines for replacing those players?
Well, the timeline to replacing those players is now. They have the players. they can fashion those players and coach them, because they are tactically sound players. Because at this moment, they don't look like they want to play with the number 9.
Right.
So with them not looking to play with the number 9, let's get rid of the other players that are there that have done it and they've not given Chiefs anything. So we are saying with the ones that they've signed, try and beef up on that and get the energy up in terms of the attacking front, because this is where they blunt. Yes, the draw was a reflection of, yes, they can defend, but they cannot also score. But their record doesn't show so, because they played 5 matches now, 2 draw, 2 losses, 1 win. So it says a lot. It's too telling. So he needs to work around in terms of the squad that he has now, because the players that they signed, they handpicked them. They still trusted Nokovic, and also they still got what's this guy's name on the bench?
Castro.
Castro. They still have Castro on the bench. So
Right.
why is he not being utilized? I think Castro is a good 10, because he makes those good runs into the box, and he always come late. Not the best of player with speed, but in terms of creativity, he's got that in him.
Okay, so Nukovic is out because he had an op, and then Castro was in Colombia. But let's welcome Siabonga Kumalo, who is a Chiefs fan, wants to discuss Chiefs. Is your coach maybe struggling, suffering from what maybe others thought Mourinho was going through in a Scottish career, where the tactics had moved on, the times had moved on, but the tactics hadn't moved on from the coach? Is that what's happening? Are we seeing a coach who hasn't adapted to what football is doing right now, or are you seeing progress? Welcome.
Thanks for having me, Kamsa. Yeah, obviously there's no progress. I was hoping maybe 5 games in the season would have at least seen 11 aside, a comfortable
settled 11.
Yeah, settled 11 that we know that this one is guaranteed. And also, I'm happy that the young mob was back in the team, but at the same time, I feel like he's coming in very mixed emotions. He's not the same. I know him as a player who takes players on and stuff, but yesterday he looked very, very offish. I'm not the only one who saw that. He looks very offish and
like a lack of confidence, maybe.
Yeah, a lack of confidence, and also the back two. even the last time I was speaking about that back to Matoho is just tall for nothing. We should be
No,
Craig. There are some things. There's a ball in the first half that Akpe saved. That was just Matoho had to take care of that. You're expecting a tall player to just.
Yeah, Taba understands. Maybe he's in the wrong position, or his body. He didn't open his body, but you cannot say he's tall for nothing. It's
been 2 seasons, Craig. It's been 2 seasons.
But when Barca won the league, Mateo was there as a leading scorer.
I agree,
defensive-wise, he has done a lot. Time moves on. In terms of 2012, you're talking about a long time.
Yeah,
now.
That's but like 9 years ago, dude.
but what I'm trying to say, I mean, for him to still be in the team or for still playing under Street Barca, there's something that he's doing right. I mean, his height, he has that height that he held the ball, he defends properly.
I agree. I agree, Craig, but I also disagree, Craig, because there's so many times we've been complaining about the same thing for 2 seasons, and we decided to make signing. The first signing we made was a defender, a central defender, because we wanted to swap Umatoho or Cardoso, but they keep on making the same mistakes. And
Greg, let me ask you, like, if you were the coach and with all those options at the back, would you still play Matoho?
For me, there's two ways you can look at it, Kabza. To bring Njabulu, you have to bring him slowly. He was brought in the last game and things went from bad to worse.
You can't get one game. You can't get one game to prove yourself.
That's what I'm trying to say. But where the coach is,
you are supposed to play again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Straight after.
Yeah, but he was supposed to play again. But now the coach is saying, okay, I brought him in and things didn't work out. Let me just get confidence now. Let me get with the clean sheet now that they have now.
No, it's not going to get no confidence, Greg. No.
Yeah, I understand, Kevin. But what I'm trying to say, for him to be defender of the season, he's a top player. We all advocate for him to play. We all advocate for him to come in and do well. He came in at the wrong time. We said it last time that he might come in now, things might work well, and they say, okay, yeah, he's the Messiah. He's the one that comes to stabilize the defense. And since when from Wolves, which is considered 2-0, he become 4. All of a sudden, now the coach decide, no, let me go back to my trusted back, 2 center back that I know. Okay, at the end of the day, if they concede, it's not going to be more than 2. I think that's his own thinking. But in this game against Gallant, they got a clean sheet. Okay, we understand they still have that that inconsistent in terms of defensive wise. But at the end of the day, Street Barca.
I always knew that Gallants wouldn't score against teams. Pound for pound, I know they were not.
No, but the chances they got.
The time when Njabulu was supposed to be given another opportunity to prove himself, because he would have played today, he was not going to be taken out of the lineup. So
and who agrees with Calvin?
Made by the coach. Actually, now it goes. Yes.
Yeah, and I was saying that who agrees with Kelvin, Greg, is the national team coach, because he's also, he's brought them in, he's brought Ngowa in, and obviously Matoho and Cardozo aren't there. So I failed to find the argument still for the failed experiment that seems to be Matoho and Cardozo. So. I mean, they either, like I say, at the weekend, they both had a chance to win the game for their team. Neither of them took it. So now,
calm down. Their first job is to do what? So
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to come with that, bro. I said earlier that, yes, well done. They got the clean sheet, but they both had chances.
Sorry, Kamza.
I think yes.
Eddie didn't see it. Go for it.
What Craig is trying to say is that yes, because they had a clean sheet, of which yes, Akpey was the man of the match. He was the last man of the defense. saved the team. But Craig, yes, we understand that, yes, it was a clean sheet with the pair of Mato and then Cardoso. But then now, if you look at the chances that Gallat created and missed, it was because of the two centre-backs of not marking. So they need to fix that. That's what everybody is trying to say, that let's now change. Jabulo was there, yes, one bad game, but that doesn't mean that you need to...
After we say something is not broken. It's not broken. We've got a clean sheet. Let's move on. We're going to score
Listen, Greg might be right in that the coach might look at that and say, well, you know,
but
I think the first three...
I don't agree.
I agree with you guys, but I'm
agree.
saying that in the next game, the first three names might be Akpe, Matoho, and Cardoso, unfortunately, because...
What happened last week?
When you now do the video analysis now, when you're looking at how the team plays, you see those kind of mistakes. Are you going to go into that game with those very same kind of mistakes, or you want to change that?
You are good at the last
because
game.
because it was a clean sheet, that doesn't mean that you cannot change it.
No, Craig, as much as you're good as your last game, there's just too many mistakes coming from the back line. I would understand if it was a winger making those mistakes. There's another instance where Cardoso forced to play a long ball, and he knows Uti is not nice. But instead of playing a short ball to the nearest defender or to the nearest player, he wants to do a long pass, and they almost scored. And it's just, if you're saying they're good as their last performance, it's killing us.
Yeah.
That defense cannot even pass it 4 or 5 times.
Eddie,
they cannot do that.
Eddie, what I'm trying to say, where they are coming from and what they got at the weekend, I think it's a base for them to build forward. That's what I'm trying to say. It doesn't matter. They make mistakes, but if as the player, Eddie, you know, each time you make a mistake, it didn't result to a goal or something bad. You have to keep that thing. You might talk about the striking role now. That the striking role that the one not scoring. That's what I'm talking about. But as far as the defense are concerned, they will tell you, they will say that no, we kept a clean sheet and we don't need to change. In the next game, if they lose, the last game they considered 4. That's why they changed in Zabulo and then, you know, and the keeper. Peterson, the goals they score him, apart from the free kick. I'm talking about apart from the free kick, which is the wall, I mean, that place is stood, they scored from that place. All the other goals were good goals. But he has to go out because the team conceded 4 goals. Now other keeper need to come in. Daniel came in now, did the save, be at the right side. Now he has to go for the next game. The same thing with the defense.
So if Akpe concede next game, he sits out.
No, what I'm trying to say, on the base now, or what they have now.
What are you saying? This is what I'm saying. Jabulo was supposed to start this game.
No, because it's when he was there. So
no. Craig.
They considered when he was there.
Craig, I think, Craig, if you were you, I don't think you would have loved to play with those two.
Right, Craig. This is my finding, right? On the 2 players. If Cardoso versus Ngobo, if I'm looking at the compatibility between the 2, Ngobo is comfortable on the ball, reads the game well, tactically sound, good passer off the ball, good leader, and organized player. Cardoso, aggressive, yes. Reading of the game, poor. Positioning, poor. Also on playing, starting the build-up play, poor on that. So now, when I look at the stats between the 2 players, any day, this Ngobo is supposed to be given a chance to play against Marian Gallants. Then from there, at least give him 2 or 3 games. Yes, you are going to lose because the reason he was fielded at this game, the last game that they lost, it was because of pressure from the media. Initially, I know he was not going to start, but he had to start because of the media pressure. So let's put that into consideration also.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's not a good reason for a coach, surely, Sia, to start a player is because of the pressure from outside. Because I guess now it's all kind of played into his hands. He said, "Okay, well, I'll put your guy in, guys, and you see."
Yeah, unfortunately, you can't see that.
Yeah, you can't. But also, I think someone spoke about Chiefs not wanting to play with a natural number 9. But also, if you're not playing with a natural number 9, you need to have the ball players to actually, to play those 1-2s. But you're not seeing that with Chiefs. They try, but you're not seeing that 1-2 getting into a box and where how Bilal used to play at Sundowns and Dolly. But you're just not seeing that. And
I think sorry to cut you off. I think with the quality of players that he had, they were playing at Sundowns totally different from the ones that they're playing with Chiefs. Yeah. You can't compare the two because Sundowns, the quality, they know, you've got the Zwanis there, you've got the Serenos, they had the Kekana at that time. So the quality at Sundowns and ones at Chiefs, totally different.
Yeah, totally. But these are the two players that were there at Sundowns. What I'm trying to say is surely he can put in a formation where he can see those 1-2s. I don't know if you watched Khadebe in the Diski, that other league, the reserve league.
No,
he's doing so well.
No, Saba, we're waiting for Castro to come so that he can be complete. Castro must come so that we can complete it.
He's still injured, so that's going to be a while still, Greg. But this fixation to get CBD back together again, I think is going to end in tears.
But who's going to provide CBD? We're still going to have a problem, Greg.
My point exactly.
We're still going to have a problem. Maybe we do, but the coach is not playing the players.
So
maybe
okay,
we do, but...
just to end on this note then, Sia, if you had to pick one player in your team at Chiefs currently to build the entire team around, who would that be?
So if I had to choose one player in the Chiefs lineup to actually build around,
yeah.
Yo, that's a hard one.
Fine. It's just now choose Ngcobo, and then put Dolly up front. Also.
Yeah, and also, but in my team, I'd also have a Khadebe, the young Khadebe. I'd also have, I believe in these youngsters. Yeah, I'd also, because who's this guy? Cole Alexandra. I watched the whole game yesterday. He doesn't give me anything.
Nothing at all. Nothing at all. Nothing at all.
See, tactically, you know, with Cole Alexander, his job is a destroyer, not a ball player. So he knows on tactic how to organize himself. He knows how to organize the middle. But if he's playing, like, let's say, for instance, if you're playing double pivot, the system becomes solid because it becomes a screener behind. So if they're playing a single pivot, that means he drops deeper to fetch the balls and start the build-up play. But now, if they're playing with two, he's the one that you won't see him much, but you see him on an interrupting play, cutting those balls, always winning those balls and trying to play it forward. So that is road. So for the Nanges, is the Nanges to initiate play, overload on one side, he stays and be security of the middle. So that's why such players, you won't see them much because they don't venture forward, but he's forced to do so by going more advanced, which leaves more gaps in between.
Yeah.
Well, there we go. Cool. Thank you very much, brother. Thanks for joining us and discussing your team, Kaizer Chiefs, who, of course, we'll see. I mean, it's a long season ahead. Let's hope that they click sooner rather than later. All the best to you and your side, brother.
Thanks, gents. Thank you, gents.
Cool. Thank you very much. Joining us on the Zoom there. There was a comment that came through, Sandile, saying, Kamza, do you mean Mvala is better than Rivaldo as Mvala selected by Bruce? Maybe not overall, but for what Bruce is trying to do, clearly Bruce thinks that he's suited for that system better than Rivaldo. So that's the coach's prerogative. But I think what for me is surprising with the Ngcobo thing is that here's a coach selecting someone who's not even getting regular game time, but still thinks that this person can contribute more to the cause than the two guys who are getting regular game time. So I think for me, that's just why it's interesting. It's because, okay, this guy, clearly the coach is seeing something, a whole national team coach who, let's be honest, this whole time hasn't been precious about who's in and who's out. He's just kind of gotten the people who need to do the job for him, and it seems to be working. Let's see. I mean, it's a strange one. I mean, you know about there was a coach in La Liga who was rotating his team every single game. So, the method is in the madness, and obviously it'll show in the results. We move on, guys. Let's have a look at the other game that happened this weekend. And that is, of course, Sundowns in action against Orlando Pirates. And Sundowns, the machine just moving, man. It's, even when Pirates have one of their better games, it's still not good enough to beat Mamelodi Sundowns. That's just how good Sundowns are. So think about that. Even when the other team, plays out of their skin, they still look like they didn't do anything on the day because they lost 2-0. Eddie Dina, that one for me is a strong signal of intent early on. Some people will be like, oh, Chiefs are showing relegation form 5 games in, but Sundowns are showing the opposite of relegation form 5 games in.
You know what? They're showing that, of course, one of the best teams in South Africa. There's no doubt about that. I think they are sending a strong message also in Africa that they are also trying to match the likes of Al Ahly. I mean, if you look at the game against Orlando Pirates, they dominated. They bulldozed Pirates in each and every department. And one thing I like about Sundowns is that when they are in possession, you will play according to their level. If they want to take the pace very slow, they can do that. If they want to take it up high, they can do that. And then when they lose possession, their transition from having the ball possession to go and press and then win it, marvelous. Everything that they were doing, against Orlando Pirates, it was brilliant. Chances that they got, Shalulile, that's what we call a typical striker. When you've got somebody that any chance that he gets, put the ball at the back of the net, that's what you want. And then you've got the midfielders that will supply the ball, and then the defense quality, the midfield, same thing. So, Sundowns, I think it's a team to be watching for. I think when it comes to, in Africa, because they've showed everything that whatever that they are doing with the coaches is showing in the game. Every player that gets in performing very well.
Greg, we always hear about, players sometimes not making the grade, but I think more and more Sundowns are seemingly kind of adding the right kind of quality to their squad, where it's not as much a case of hoarding all the best players as opposed to just adding the ones that they actually need for the cause. What we're seeing now on the back of the form that they're showing in the league, do you think that's enough for the rest of the big African adventure? Some people, notwithstanding our producer, Fidel, thinks they might see flames in CAF on the rest of the continent. So how do you assess their chances?
For me, I just feel like, Sundowns, right from the beginning, before the season started, we always, look at them as the big contenders. We were thinking that, the likes of Kaizer Chiefs, with the signing they did, and Pirates, they can put a little bit of fight, like the league be interesting. But right now, they are, the only team that is not far off is SuperSport. SuperSport is not far off with 11 points, and Sundowns having 13 points, and the good thing about them and the quality they have, they have scored 8 goals and they haven't conceded any goal, which in 5 games, that's one of the records I think another team again will break, because you have a goalkeeper which in Africa is the number 1 for me. He has done so well. Pirates, they did everything they could on the day, but Oyango was just too much, On that day, Oyango was just different class, world-class goalkeeper, his personality, you can see that he's really a top goalkeeper. And that's why you need your old head to come to the rescue, because, you can see Pirates created chances. That's where you see Sundowns, they still have the loopholes in terms of defensive-wise, but the good thing about Sundowns, you can't have the whole team just bad on the day. You have 1 or 2 players that can still come up. Peter's the one doing the scoring, and Orlando Pirates on that day, there's a lot of turnovers. The 2 goals Sundowns score was, and Orlando Pirates was in possession, and the loose possession was a transition that which Peter couldn't miss those 2 goals. So for me, I think Pirates did very well on that day. But it's just too much class of Sundowns. And going to Africa is just something every other country, every other club in terms of in the Champions League, we're putting an eye on Sundowns because the quality of the field, they can still they can still win any game. You have the Maleka, they haven't played any single games. You have a lot of players that are coming from behind, still working their way to make the team. So and for 2-3 games, Vala wasn't in the team. He just really came against Pirates now. Came as a substitute. So I just feel like Sundowns they have the quality to dominate in the local league and in the Champions League.
And I mean, looking at the way they approached that game tactically, as well organized as OPFC were, Calvin, I mean, they did seem to have trouble with those balls behind the back two of Happy and Tyson. Tactically, what did they get right there? Because obviously, and I think more prevalent in that second goal, you have Safranco and Shalulile waiting in that critical area just to accept that pass that seemed to undo the defense.
Yeah, a well-coached Sundowns, well-drilled, good tactically on the ball. What made it to be easy for Sundowns? Both teams play the Pirates play the 4-3-3. Sundowns play the 4-3, play the 3-4-3, meaning that they overload the middle. They required Zwane to be the orchestra, to one who's going to initiate and try and maintain ball position, force Pirates to press higher because numerical superiority on the middle, they are lesser on the middle for Orlando Pirates, which forces them to press a little bit higher. So separating the pivot of Pirates, since they used one and they have double pivot with Lebusa, Kotsie, and Deruk, starting with the 3 at the back, it forced them, the Mabasa, the Hoto, the Pule to press up and also leave gaps in the middle because Sundowns have a 4 in the middle. You have a Lake that was playing high up and the Kekane that was also playing high up, which is on their build-up play gave them more numbers in the middle. That's why you see the goals that were scored by Shaulile. It looks easy, but if you look at it from a technical position, you'll understand that those weighted passes and those runs that they were making is because they tested Sundowns and see how vulnerable they would be. And of course, they fell into the trap. They started pushing and leaving space behind, and that's suicide. You can't do that when you're playing against Shaolin. You will always find those pockets. Now, having the Zwane that would drag them more and Shaolin looking for those balls in the middle, with Jali being the one that breaks up attack and then give it to Mshishi to feed on to Shaolile. You still have a player that was tested on the day. You have the Marco de Shandu and also the Marco de Shandu. They had to substitute him at the end of the day because he couldn't cope with the likes of Erasmus always making the runs into his space because knowing that his natural is not a right back.
And then in terms of maybe what's missing, Eddie, looking at that Pirates display, they had everything according to all those watching, especially the coaches on both sides, everything but the goals. Is that all that's missing from this Pirates side? Do you think if they just get a goal or two into their game, they are the complete package enough to mount a credible challenge against the likes of Sundowns? And does this then just go to, show how important it is to have a striker that you can turn to and as consistent as a Shalulile, who's, obviously been the lightning rod for goals at Mamelodi Sundowns so far. Pirates don't seem to have that at the moment. There's lots of contenders and nominees, but no one's really taken that opportunity by the scruff of its neck.
I think, judging by their performance against Sundowns, I think they were not that bad. I think, yes, they played, against a team that as Kelvin said, that have been drilled, that is, their standard is very high. But according to Pirates, I think it wasn't a bad game. They did well. I mean, if you look at how they try to praise Sundowns at certain departments, of which it helped them a lot, but because they were overpowered in the midfield, they would not try to praise them. But overall, in their performance, I think, as you said, Cam, what was lacking, if they can get somebody that can score goals for them, I think it will be a whole different story. So I think that's probably maybe what the technical team will try to work on, or whether maybe they might need somebody there that they know that this is our top man, top goal scorer, a person that will get there and start scoring goals. But in terms of their performance and overall, I think I was impressed with that.
So what does that make you? Any of you guys can answer this, but what does that make you if you are still trying to get those striking combinations right at this stage of the season? Is that making you a cup contending team as opposed to a league contending team? Or do you think there's still time when you haven't figured it out by now to mount a credible challenge, considering the hot start that the other teams have made in the league?
Yeah, for me, okay. Sorry.
I can go
first, and then you, Kelvin.
The older one.
Age first, then beauty, apparently.
No. For me,
age first, then the white glow. Go for it.
For me, Kamza, I just feel like, with the signing that Sundowns did this season and last season, I think for a striker, you need to go to scout for a striker that can give you over 10 goals for a season. Peter can give you that. Peter can give you over 10 goals. You have Erasmus that can give you over 10 goals. You have Safanko that came in with the record we saw in terms of the clip we saw. He can give you plus minus 10 goals. So in Orlando Pirates, you're talking about only Mabasa there. I think he's the one coming in a substitute, starting the game. He can give you 1 or 2 goals. 10 goals, over 10 goals. I think if you play more, he can give you that. But you need to have 1 or 2 or 3 of that can, at least with the chances you create, in terms of percentage, if you create 3 chances, he's gonna put 1 away. So I think that's what the likes of Pirates and Sundowns need to get. You need to get that, the likes of Mbesuma. When Kaizer Chiefs were dominant in the league, you have the Radebe and Mbesuma. Mbesuma will not chase lost cause, but when he's in the box and Radebe do all the chasing and giving the ball, he's gonna put it in the back of the net. So you need those kind of strikers, calm head, on the ball, in the balls there. So I just feel like that's where other teams are lacking in terms of where Sundowns getting it right.
Okay, so other team, supporters, as far as, is looking like Sundowns are the team to beat for the league. Are you going to be happy with your team just grabbing a cup along the way? Because, it would seem some of the other big sides, they haven't quite figured out their starting 11 for the season. And I mean, Kelvin, that brings me to my next question of, does anyone from that Sundowns, Pirates side rather, walk into the Sundowns team based on what you saw?
No. I think Sundowns... No, man.
So, I mean, does that then not show how big the gap is? That if you can't even consider one player from Pirates to say they must walk into Sundowns, what is it going to take for Pirates to catch up to Sundowns if they don't even have players that can even match the ones that Sundowns have?
Yeah, no. There's no match for Sundowns. Look at the pedigree that they have. Just up front alone. You name it at the back of your head. Erasmus, Kutumela, Shaulile, Sefranco. In comparison to, you have the Mabaso and who else?
That 2 was so loaded.
Kevin, with large eyes closed and injury-free, he can walk into that Sundowns.
No. We're not talking past tense.
No.
Yeah, we're talking about now, Greg. We're talking about now. We're not coaches that are long term.
We're talking past tense.
It's not a private team.
Let me finish this point, Greg. Let me finish this point.
Okay.
Yeah, no, Kamsa, just to answer your question, I think with Sundowns and the pedigree that they have, it's unmatched for Pirates. I think Pirates still need a lot of work. We still have a striker that they signed from Ghana. Pepra, I think he still hasn't adjusted, as I said, moving into a new country, environment, culture, also being integrated into the squad. It's going to take a little bit of time, but Pirates doesn't have that luxury to give that player so much time because they need him to be scoring goals. Mabas is the only player that now has raised his hand. 2 goals, 2 matches, 2 goals in 3 matches. I think that's a phenomenal record for a striker because he sees that he's a goal patch. I see also he's also named in the Bafana squad, which means the coach still sees something in him. They can still work around him with the personality that they have also in the national team. With Pirates, I think what they are missing mainly right now is the number 9. If they can offload from each other, if Mabasa gets injured, then let somebody come in with eyes closed, because now we're having a situation, you are relying on one striker. Last year it was Lodge, now Lodge was out. Mabasa is out again. Who else are we going to have? We're having a Pepper that's not yet, we don't know that if he's fit enough, or has he been integrated properly into the team? Is he ready to start? I did see him coming on the last game where he made some beautiful touches, good runs into the box. But can they give him that opportunity to be the one that will be the leader? Because for a Pirates team, if they're going to compete, they're going to need a closer replica to Sundowns, because Sundowns at this point, they've widened the gap from the big three, which is Pirates and Chiefs. And Sundowns is the one that is hitting the pack at the moment. Maybe they should ask for a loan from one of the strikers from Sundowns to borrow them, both teams.
Yeah, but I think the first thing, Kelvin, that Pirates need to do, in my observation, is that the defending of those two goals was very poor. I mean, if you look at especially the first goal, the two central defenders cross coming from the right, everybody's watching the ball. Nobody knows where the man they are marking is, and then a puller comes through, and then Sharuli to just finish it. So we know with that, when you have two CBs of Happy and Tyson, and when you're conceding goals like that, it's I don't know whether you need more. Pirates should have. Sorry,
Eddie's heart looks like it's breaking, bro.
I think, Eddie, that was caused by a well-studied game by the Sundowns coaches, because they knew Shandu is not a right back. So they were always going to work on that side. So him moving more up, remember, he's not a natural right back, so it will be exciting to go up. He will give you more going up, but defensive responsibilities were not executed at the end of the day. So which is Sundowns, they saw that and they utilized it. Hence, they played more balls onto his side. Naturally, they will know on the left, yes, Marco is a left back, but also likes venturing forward. Hence, you'll find the Shaolili is occupying those space, because if you go forward as fullbacks, you always leave space behind. This leaves Epijele and Tyson to be overstretched. Now, Shaolili finding the space, or if Shaolili moves out, Zwane is coming later into the box.
Where's the DM?
Well, as the cool kids will say, where's the DM, bruh? Where's the DM? He wants to know, Calvin.
Yeah, no, I think the DM was upset at this point, but world class game plan from Sundowns. I think tactically they mastered this, and they knew their shortcomings, and they work against them. And them putting a 4, it said a lot that already you are short in the middle. Try, and then again you only have one striker. You have the coolest. Try and occupy the middle, because Sundowns really wanted to use the middle space. They wanted to play through the middle so they can go wide. But now you are allowing them to do exactly what they are planning. When they put 4 straight in the middle, you still put 3. That means you got 1 holding. Are you building up from the back? Are you that comfortable on building up at the back with the Happy Jelly and Tyson? No. Then you know the Shandu and the Mark will always venture up forward to give you a numerical superiority in the middle. Yes, but now in defense, that means you cannot cope with the speed and the technical ability of Kemit Erasmus and Shaolin. That was a short one.
Yeah,
so
Calvin.
I think now to answer Kamsa's question, no player from Pirates will walk into Sundowns team, but the whole of Sundowns can easily walk into Pirates team.
Duh. There we go. Hashtag where's the DM? Before we carry on, I want to just go back to some comments that are coming through the chat on YouTube. Craig, that's your YouTube name, Greg. Greg, well, let me ask you something. Cardozo, Matoho, and Ngobo were there when they conceded 4 goals, and now why must Matoho and Cardozo start after conceding the 4 goals? Brutus Aaron Masindi wants to know that from you. Mull it over. Abongile Nlipe says Hunt wanted to change the whole squad and he was fired. Brutus also says, I'll build my team around Dolly and Ngobo. Football News Guru says Cole is no different from Katsande. Michael Ndlalose says he's waiting for the Sundowns review. I hope you're enjoying it. Who would you take, Michael, from Orlando Pirates to join the Sundowns team, of the people of the squad that was in action at the weekend? Obviously, if we look at the greater picture, a lot of people would probably look at Lorch and think he's one of the players who could walk in. And then Colin Ndebele saying the pain Sundowns once went through is now beginning to reap rewards. Remember early 2011, 2013, they once went through a rough patch. But yeah, it's one story as far as success is concerned, where a club has just gotten it right, making the right investments, making the right changes, modernizing in the right way, bringing in key personnel, not just on the field, but off the field. And then you all of a sudden, by surprise, start winning. It's funny how that works. Anyway, let's keep it moving on to the next game. And that is, of course, one that saw action between Cape Town City and Morocco Swallows. So this one played out to a draw, which I guess for Swallows and the management, for them, it's a case of stemming the bleeding. But I think what was very interesting for me in that game, Greg, are the comments that Simo Dladla made, saying that, yeah, I'm changing things up. The guys had to learn about a new system, new things, I was like, what? I was like, aren't you a caretaker coach? I made a note of it because it was a bit shocking to me. Yeah, he was saying he's trying to bring a new shape, structure, and philosophy for the games that he's been given. I don't know. That sounds, yeah, if you're Brandon Trutter watching that post-match, what are you thinking?
Kabza is simple. It's simple and clear. Trutter never requested for Blala to come to be his assistant. I think for me, it's clear with his post-match comments. You can see he's here. I think he hasn't promised. He's gonna be. Maybe they're gonna give him the coach or something like that. So, but at the end of the day, for a coach to make such a comment, I think it's I don't know what he was thinking at that moment. But it's really shocking, for everyone, for you, because you're supposed to be working with the head coach that is on leave now, supposedly on leave, which everyone, seems to believe. Yeah, but for you to come with the comment and start saying that you need to change the shape, you need to change the tactics, you need to. So what were you doing with the head coach when you guys were working together? So you guys were not defining things together, or you just feel like he was doing the things alone. So there's a lot of questions to be answered because, with that post interview, a lot of eyebrow was raised. I just feel like, it's unnecessary for him to say all this stuff, but you never know what they promise him behind the scenes. So I just wish, Swallows can, really get their head coach back because he has done so much. I just feel like, for him to go on leave at this moment, it wasn't necessary, and he's one top coach that did very well for Swallows. I just feel like he has brought life into the players, and remember they lost a lot of players, the likes of Clancy, and the likes of a lot of good players that they're not there now. So the new players that came in, they need to adapt to the system. But with Ndala Seodus in the post-match comment, I just feel like it's just unnecessary.
Okay, sorry guys, I'm having a bit of a technical issue, but you can carry on, Eddie.
No. So I thought you were not available, but it's fine. It's okay.
So you don't have any thoughts? Sorry, my camera is just blacked out. Calvin was so bright with that white shirt that my camera just struggled to take the light, and I'm fixing it as we speak. So apologies for the dark picture. Calvin, what's your point, sir?
Yeah, okay. From my side, I think what's important here to really look at is the fact that City coming back from the loss, they got a draw from this match, and Swallows just worsening their journey on this league with 1 win, 2 draw, and 2 losses. From what they did last season compared to now. Last season, they were far up the league, but if you look at them right now, they're not in a very good position. I think this is why maybe they're pressing penny buttons at this point. But I think it's in due time with Simo, as Greg has Greg has highlighted. I think for a coach to come up with a different statement in an interview to say he's looking to change things. It sounds as if he's bought in there to take over from Truter. Yes, we know that he was put on leave, but I just saw this afternoon on their page that they are glad to announce that Truter is back onto his position, so his leave has expired. Probably they smoke a peace pipe, and then maybe they're going to fashion a win now, or start preparing for the games that are coming, and then do better as a team. But for Simo to come out and say he still needs to understand, there's nothing to understand now. The ball is in motion, needs to get it rolling, and players have already adapted to the system. Changing now would be suicide. What will we be doing by now? 5 games already in, 1 win, 2 draws, 2 losses. I think it's all about having to look in terms of, are we scoring enough? No, because you're looking at the number of draws. Are we conceding? No, we're looking also with the draws that they've got. Losses, yes, there's 2. So there's something that needs to be fixed in terms of the scoring side, and also on them trying to win matches.
Okay, cool. So I'm just gonna revert to the fallback camera here, as though so we can continue with the show. What about the side of we're looking at Cape Town City? They needed something, a young pick-me-up, Greg, in terms of them just being able to kind of also balance things out a little bit as far as their season is going. A point on the road will always be looked at as a good thing. But was this maybe a good time to be playing a Swallows team who, behind the scenes anyway, would seem that things are a bit behind disarray? I mean, at this point, I don't even know how these two coaches work together now. If what Kelvin is saying is the case, that one of them, saying that I'm trying new things, and then the club is saying no, the old guy's coming back. So I don't know what kind of a relationship they're gonna have. It's gonna be very awkward at the next training session.
Yeah. No, I mean, as I said earlier, because he has been there with Truter. They have been working together. So that shows that there was no support, or he was not buying into this philosophy that was happening before, because he's trying to change. And with his post-match, because we never said it, he came out after the game and said that I'm trying to change, a lot of things. I'm trying to philosophy, all the stuff, So now we're reading into all the statements and feeling that no, there were no harmony before in terms of the camp. Yeah, and they were thinking that, okay, let's give you 1 game and let's see if you can win it. But never won, he drew, which is the point, and which it has been happening before. But the only thing, I'm just happy for Cape Town City, coming from their 3 goals lost against Stellenbosch, and keeping a clean sheet away. I just feel like okay. Yeah, they have something to build, because remember, they're going to play Swallows again in terms of the MTN 8. So it's gonna be a good one to watch, because you have the head coach coming back, and we see how it pans out in the dugout there. We have this same scenario with Sundowns with the 3 coaches, but they came out gone blazing and start winning every game, and they smoke. They make sure everything is put to bed. So we want to see the same thing with Swallows. But I just feel like with Swallows, scoring, as Kevin mentioned, scoring wise, that's I think that's where they're lacking now, because they only score 1 goal, and they have conceded 4, which is something you really don't expect at this point now. They've already played 5 games, scoring 1 goal, and scoring 1 goal. Yeah, I think it's not enough, for you to contest, where they are last season and where they are now. I just think it's just a little bit of a downgrade, but at the same time, you can put argument for them, because they lost a lot of players, and new players coming in try to buy the philosophy of the head coach, that's Truter, So I just feel like but going forward, I think with his leave, he just have the leave, and coming back now, I think he's refreshed. He's gonna bring new ideas, and there's gonna be a lot of positive going forward.
Cool. And just so to recap on the other results, there was also a share of the spoils for Kukuna and Arrows. Arrows playing some beautiful stuff, and you love to see it when there's selfless bits of play on the pitch, and it all results in a goal. Because so a lot of players sometimes want to be the one to finish things off, and there were times where Pulemori had a chance where Mutizwa kind of knocked it back to him, and he just kind of leaned back a bit too much there. But some beautiful spells of play from CMA's men, and obviously Kukuna having to deal with an early injury, but then went on to get a point from their home game. As far as other results are concerned, Amazulu finally getting a win. It was Bogintuli from the penalty spot there. I wonder if this means they've kind of turned a corner when they've finally registered a victory. And Stelli's also winning 2-1 against Chipa. And then a game that pretty much cost it, I guess some people will say was coming, but ODG, one of the coaches now being fired by TS Galaxy after they lost 4-2 against Royal AM. Seems a bit harsh, Eddie, but, maybe some will argue that that was always on the cards. It's not usually where you see a team losing because they were down to 10 men for a big part of the game, and then the coach ends up being a casualty for it.
A team, when you have a boss of Team Sokazi who knows exactly more about football, and he wants his team to play the best football and to win games. And for Owen, not doing so much of that, I was just waiting for the day that he was going to say that he is fired, of which it was today, because I knew something like that was going to happen.
Have you got a client lined up? Hey, you agent too?
Because
bloody agent.
as I said, knowing Tim Sukazi, you know what type of person he is. As the boss as the president of the team, you know exactly that he needs results and the kind of football that he needs to play so that he gets whatever that he deserves. And now, because of Owen losing games and not playing the kind of football that team wants, it was bound to happen.
Yeah, fair enough. That is a possibility when, especially we're looking at this time of the season, a international break is on the horizon, Kelvin. These things tend to coincide with one another, but you've had Dan Dance, you've had ODG there, you've got some really good talent there, young talent at that team. Who comes in now to harness what they have, and what's the best that they hope for? A top 8 finish, or just to be safe? But who do you think can come in there and do a job for them? Because, for me, it would be difficult to guess as to who the next coach for TS Galaxy is. What would your educated guess be?
Well, I think for me, the first thing is now for them just to be safe on the log. I think they've displayed one of the most horrific football at this point, finding themselves at the bottom, which has left the coach to be the casualty, as you rightly put it. I think at this point, I think also the recruitment also needs to be considered in this factor. I think there isn't much that they've done in replacing players that they've lost. They've shown that they're a team that is just in the market of selling but not replacing. You should have players. When players leave, you should get players to replace those players so that you can have the continuity. But at this point, it looks like there isn't much that has been done to fill in that space. For Tim, I'm just hoping he does not become the same Chipampengis who will fire just because coaches are not getting it right. Yes, also support him, get him the players that he needs in order for him to compete fairly.
But we don't know if they have money though, Calvin. Some clubs don't have the resources. Then what?
You don't need resources. You need development. You need that resource so that you can get youngsters, start integrating them early. Look at Sundowns. Sundowns, for instance, I don't think in the next coming 2 years, they're going to promote any player. Mark my words. That's not going to happen with the amount of quality that they have. So we're going back to the development factor to say, let us start investing on reproducing our own. It saves you money when you have a development that is going to help you when you're in need and the funds are not available. So you can always
so that's not realistic. You're talking about a club that bought their way to the top league. Development takes time. It's water and oil, my man. Water and oil.
Okay, at this point, Kamo is not water and oil. Team Sukazi has a development. It's just that it's not being maybe properly run. I know they do have a feeder team. So when he bought in that status already, he had an NFD team. Some of those players still within his ranks, they're still under development. He still has another team that is a feeder. But now, as again I'm saying, if you do not replace the players that you have sold because you are worried about your revenues, you're going to find yourself at number 16 with the amount of games that you have lost. And then what you're going to say now, you're going to fire the coach. Look at the way how they played. They played
Maybe
three
they are
at the
not
back.
ready. Maybe the youngsters are not ready, Kelvin.
I was about to say,
Say
what if
again?
they're not good enough? What if they're not
Maybe
up to scratch?
the youngsters are not ready.
Yeah,
Because
but
it is
They are
possible
top.
that they might not be ready.
Now, Kamza, the MDC side, the Galaxy MDC side, they are top of the log in the MDC league.
No, but that doesn't mean, Kelvin, Kelvin. You know, because if you're playing for MDC, that doesn't mean that you are ready to play for PSL. You can be good for MDC, but not good for PSL. Right?
I do know and I
we
understand
know
that. I
that.
respect
Yes.
the point, but I'm saying now, when you are playing for MDC, it's not a bigger difference because not all those players are going to be promoted, but the positions that they really need, especially defense, especially they lost players that were pillars. So start now going back to a system, because even the system that ODG is playing, starting with 3 at the back, consistently, you conceded goal the same way and you see players bunching at that level. What does that say to you? Start moving maybe in a more secured system, start with a 4-4-2, whatever the case might be, or 5, put 5 at the back. So at least you get those draw, it tries to push you up the league, because this is demoralizing to see a team that bought a status and is sitting at the bottom. Hence, they push the red button.
Yeah, no, for sure. Look, I mean, Eddie, you are involved in a development agency. In terms of timelines, in terms of, only having 8 months to kind of get something out of your team, especially if you're trying to just retain your status in the league, what's the right mix here? Because Kelvin says we must take a punt with the youngsters. You're saying that doesn't necessarily mean, just because, also, let's be clear, the MDC, there were only 3 games in, guys. So yes, you can be at the top of the table. Yeah, wait.
Now,
Let's wait and see. Let's wait and see.
If the league is finished now, they win the league.
I'm sure you're right, and I'm sure they wish they could just end it now. They're sitting on top. If it ends now, Galaxy are the best. But let's also manage expectations. They're only 3 games in, but they don't play, I think, a home and away. So it's still, yes, good start. But let's see what they do. But still, no idea as to coaches, Eddie. Any coaches that you might suggest for this job?
This is a merry-go-round. Don't be surprised if Dan will go back again. But no, with this one, I don't have an idea as to who might
I don't know, Eddie. It seems like Eddie knows something, bro. Yeah.
Can take a wild guess. I think maybe if they should look in terms of Clinton Larson is doing well right at the bottom with the club that is in Durban. I think it's Dynamo something. So he just got into the last 32, I think. So he's the one that is available. Experienced coach, has been around the game. But also, I think it's time maybe give other coaches a chance and stop having this merry-go-round. It needs to stop right now, because maybe with Tim, he's got coaches around him because he manages coaches. So he's the best one to put the coaches around his table. So he will be the one that pick coaches around his table.
Kevin, what are you saying? Kelvin, what are you
saying? Sean Bartlett is there.
Sean Bartlett is there.
He can do the job.
Yeah, he can. I mean, give him a chance. Let's see what he can do. For now, they gave him an interim coach, to take care of the team. And let's see what he can do, because we cannot, as we say, we cannot be changing. When Dance left in December 2020, and ODG came January, I think it's very well. He came 9th position where they were sitting and where he took them to. And the last game against Kaizer Chiefs, I remember that was the decider for who to go to the top 8. I think he did very well. It's just for the start of the season now. I mean, things are just going bad because you never know ODG in his team that they consider a lot of goals, because right now Galaxy are the team that considered a lot of goals in the league, which is 10 goals, and they've scored few, just 2 goals. They only score they score 4 goals. I mean, they only scored the 2 against Royal AM now. I just feel like, I just think, there's definitely gonna be change, because with him, what he tweeted yesterday, you can know that there's something trigger that is gonna happen. Yeah, which Eddie knew about it. He said it's gonna be today. So Eddie could have given us some scope before we. So, but I just feel like, with Sean Bartlett, I think he has done it before. He promoted Golden Arrows, and I think it's time for him to, to be given a chance and see what he can do.
Fair enough.
Yes,
Fair enough. Yes,
I think-
Sean Bartlett is quality. Kelvin?
Yeah, I think also the only way we're going to know that Sean Bartlett can lead a team is by him giving an opportunity. We have the likes of Caetano, who was given an opportunity to look where he is today. We have a Siema also that was given a chance at Celtics. Look where he is today. And also we need to also go back to Chiefs again and say, give Arthur a chance also. Let's see what he can do. So I think for us to know that the homegrown talent, can they really produce, is by us giving them a chance. But if we do not give them a chance, how are we going to know that they are capable enough? They will stay forever being assistant coach till when? When are we going to break the cycle and start having fresh faces leading the pack?
I think any coach who hasn't gotten one of these jobs, as long as he's got the 60 million to buy another status, he'll get the job. And I think that's the only way you get a job. If you're not, because I mean, let's be honest, guys, these people are, businessmen, and they're looking after their interests. And yes,
Absolutely.
it's romantic to be like, hey, give this guy a chance, give that guy a chance. But they're like, hey, daughter, give my wallet a chance, to recover before I have to be wondering about buying another status. Quick look at the midweek fixtures, and it's course MTN8 action, almost like a month to the day that the last games happened. Golden Arrows and Sundowns playing out to a 1-1 draw. Now Arrows will come back up to take on Sundowns, whilst Cape Town City, I understand, would have traveled back. They'll be coming up for that game against Morocco Swallows. That'll be on Wednesday, but I guess Coach Lada will have a chance now to see if his ideas have bedded in for this one.
Greg, you can take this one. It's your team.
No. I think for me, it's gonna be a very beautiful game to watch. With Cape Town City, what they show at the weekend against the Swallow side. I think it's gonna be a tough one. Don't be surprised this one can go to the penalty. But I just feel like Cape Town City have more fire strikers in terms of more power up front, to score than Swallows. But don't be surprised, it's a cup game, and now it's going to be 1-off in terms of there's going to be a winner at this point. So Swallows playing at home, I think they will take that advantage. But it's going to be an interesting game to watch.
Yeah, of course. And then, Eddie, as far as the Herculean task is concerned for Golden Arrows, I mean, you back them because they're a side that seem to believe in themselves, believe in the way they play, believe in the badge. Against them, a Mamelodi Sundowns side who I can say equally the same, except they've just been doing it for longer.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a very interesting game. I mean, if you look at Arrows, it's a team that loves to play at a very fast pace, and they're also a team that can knock the football around, and they also create, and they're also good at pressing as soon as they lose possession. And it's a more similar type of play with Sundowns, but the fact that Arrows are their pace are a little bit higher when they play. So it's going to be a good game to watch. But I'll give this one to Sundowns 1-0. But it's not going to be easy. Yeah,
that's so risky of you. Ooh, those odds. I'm sure you're going to make a killing on the bets with that one.
I'm gonna give Sanders this one 1-0, but yeah, it's gonna be a very, very close game.
Okay,
Very
we're gonna
close.
come over to your place to enjoy our millions after you get that prediction spot on. Kelvin, your predictions for those ones, how do you see them panning out?
Yeah, I think Arrows will give Sundowns a good run. I think with the on form Knox, Mutizwa, the CBC, they look like a very, very, very organized team, a team that can pass the ball around, will frustrate Sundowns. They're a ball orientation team. They like position much. They also like venturing forward and getting into scoring positions. Sundowns wanting to replicate the same. Or it's going to boil down to now in terms of the personality at the field, because Sundowns it is going to have a much proper game plan than Arrows. Why is that so? Because with Sundowns already, with the amount of games that they played, they will come into this game highly motivated, and with the Arrows have played a draw. I think it's going to be a tough match. So for me, Sundowns will walk up with this one, even though Arrows will frustrate them. More or less, the game plan will be the same as Sundowns, because Mangoba knows those guys. Most of them has coached them from a personality level and also on the tactical level. He'll try to actually utilize that, because he has said it, that with the on-form CBC gives them balance solid. With the on-form Knox Mutizwa also having a scoring boots on could be troublesome. If they apply the three at the back to restart play as a build-up phase, is a team that is good on a counter press also. But remember, they will always leave themselves vulnerable at the back by pressing too high for Shaolile to run into those gaps behind.
Well, let's see if you've got it tactically spot on ahead of time. Usually you were coming here to react. Now you've given us an idea of how you think it's going to pan out. I'm going to hold you to it. We're going to clip this last 5 minutes, and then we're going to go through it next week and see, Kelvin, if your word holds up. Just to remind you guys that actually next week we're going to be in studio. We're going to go back to studio because we've been sorting that out. So as of next week, Monday, we're back there. It does still mean that we'll be on the interwebs, which is still cool, meaning you can catch us from anywhere. And we've got some cool competitions also on the way. So make sure you are subscribed if you're not subscribed already. And, you can get notifications as to when next we'll be live. But this next week will be happening from a studio setting. So that's pretty exciting. Then we'll have less technical issues. Going from HD to SD, like now I look like I'm on Pop TV. Let's wrap this one up very quickly. Just I want to find now your thoughts, guys, about that whole thing with Pito Mosemani. He recently tweeted, to win the third CAF Champions League trophy in a row comes with the stresses, pressures, and all the challenges that my team is facing for the last 7 days. Nothing precious comes the easy way. I have seen these movies before, and they're all in the same way. Hence, they are thrillers. I thought he was going to say, hence, they are Marvel movies. Too much pressure. Maybe, guys, I don't know. Is this guy feeling the heat a little bit? Or is it just, an old hand who knows the game and knows what the guys want to write in the papers, wants to give people something to talk about, and then, do what Pito does best, back himself and then get it done. Is that maybe what we're seeing here? And obviously, if that works out the way I described it, that'll be pretty sweet for him. But is he starting to feel the pressure a little bit, Greg?
Yeah, pressure with in the Egyptian is always there, with Al Ahly, because with their history and what they have achieved, and with Pito going there and giving them the Champions League, giving them a lot of trophies. I just think that the expectation is going to be high. There's going to be always pressure, and the pressure is there now because you remember the last game they lost, in penalties, and which can go both sides. And they all got fined. They all got fined from the players to the coaches, to everyone. So I just think that's how serious Al Ahly take the game. So they feel like they are the super team in that region to win everything. Both in Champions League, both in the league. So I just feel like there's gonna be pressure, and Pito is one person that can handle that pressure. No matter how, you remember what happened when it was at Sundowns, all those things happened. He was under pressure and he came back bouncing strongly, and and did front out a lot of trophies, both in the Champions League and the domestic league, and a lot of cups. So I think he's gonna do the same. He's a super coach, he's a top coach. I just feel he's gonna bounce back stronger.
Have any of you ever been in a situation like that where the whole squad was fined?
No.
Yeah.
Oh, you have? Calvin?
Yeah.
Really? Where were you?
Yes.
What happened?
Turkish team. I think we played a team. It was a derby, Bursa Sport and Ankara Gucu. They're a team of, I think it's brothers. They wanted us to win that game at all costs. Even the bonuses went double up for us to win the game. When we lost that game, then they started fiddling with our salaries. That's when I felt the pinch, because for me, I lived off bonuses, not salary.
Yeah.
So that was a kind of painful one. So
Where was that? Where was that again?
In Turkey.
In Turkey. I'm sure that was the first time they heard after you got your first that pay slip. You were like,
Yeah, that's why he has got too much money. That's why.
I'm sure in Turkey they were like, what's that? And that was because Calvin was looking at his pay slip on some like, this is a bit, short. Okay, that's interesting. I didn't know it was a thing that happens as a form of, I guess being upset from the owners is that they're gonna fine you, and everyone was cool with it.
No, not really. Remember, I'm an African, so my money is more on my country. For them, it's normal. So there's a history behind the derby. So whenever the derby is played, they know what it means. So the incoming me not knowing from Africa, yes, it's another game, but I understand and I respect the magnitude of the game, that it's a derby. But for you to tamper with my money, that's what I came there for. So now why are you working with my money? So some of the players were like, they were disappointed. Some were even saying, hey, you shouldn't get paid. I was like, no, guys, you're pushing it too far. No. For me, this is my livelihood. No chance.
Because you're getting paid
You can be disappointed in one game, but don't wipe off our salaries. Come on now.
We're getting paid in dollars. Eddie wants to know what denominations of dollars were you being paid in? With unmarked bills.
Benjamins.
Used to come cash,
Hey.
You used to bring cash.
Yeah, cash in the changing room.
What a life. And the thing is, you footballers, if it wasn't football, it would look so dodgy that you guys are just being handed cash coming out of bags after you've done your job. It sounds like hitmen. Almost, sorta, kinda. Gents, we're done for time. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. Calvin Sosibo, Eddie Dinya, and of course, Greg Atafia, aka Craig. What up, Craig? I'm gonna join you. We'll hang out again in a week's time, bro. Craig and crew. Thank you so much to everybody who's tuned in and kept the conversation going on our YouTube stream. We'll join you in a week's time. Big ups to Fidel behind the scenes. Check us out at Front Sports. For myself, Kamza Bata. I'm going to be funny again in a week's time.